Hello and welcome back to Serving Up Success with a Splash. I'm Dr. Nawtej Dosanjh. I'm called the Strategy Doctor very kind of my host. And I'm joined by
Angie Snowball, the Renaissance woman.
And Bruce Kramer, your favorite corporate cockroach. And real quick, because we got a great episode tonight. But real quick, the cocktail of the week. It's called the Bourbon Bushwick. And basically, it's a bourbon Manhattan with attitude. And you can check out, I should say, the ingredients on our YouTube page. Nawtej?
Thank you, Bruce. So this week, look, guys, every week we have a very serious topic and we have some humor with presenting the topic. This week's topic is especially hard for us, and it's a hard topic for everybody. It's conflict resolution, but it's conflict resolution when the conflict is deep-seated, it's intractable, it's been around for years. Whether it's life, it could be a family or a friendship that's been full of conflict for years. It could be your career, it could be a business colleague where you've even forgotten what the real cause of the conflict was. And so this week we're going to handle this topic of conflict resolution from the point of view of when nothing is working. And Bruce, I want to hand the first segment to you because you've had a long corporate career, and I think you must have come across these sort of situations. So I'd
With
love you to
Bruce?
just kick
No
us off.
way. Everybody gets along with Bruce. Bruce is always right. He's never had this happen. Never. That's how I feel. I'm pretty sure Noel feels that way too. He's always right.
No, there was a time when I think in my career, they thought of me as breeding conflict. and
You just sting. You just
I
sting.
kind of thrive on it. And I want to put a disclaimer out there right away, because tonight episode, as Dr. D pointed out, is about chronic conflict. I mean, it's an issue, and it's not going away easily. But I always want to qualify that conflict isn't necessarily bad. It does spark a lot of creativity. It kind of brings some assumptions to the forefront. And I would also say that it uncovers a lot of blind spots. So I want to just put that disclaimer. But one of the big things, and oh my God, I can't think of any huge undertaking that I've ever been a part of, especially in corporate America, that didn't involve conflict. And one of the things, and it took me a while, is that when you first get into this where nothing's working, I mean, you just can't get along. I mean, the team is in conflict, is the first thing you got to do is pause. Do not react. As our episode last week said, you must respond. Because if you're reacting, chances are you're judging and or you're making incorrect assumptions. So the first thing, and then I'm going to pause and I have some questions. But the first thing you do when you're in a situation and you're not able to get that conflict removed is you got to step back and ask, what is this really about? You got to dig deep. The second thing I like to think of is it's like that iceberg method we've all heard about, that when you look at an iceberg, only 15% of it is actually exposed. The rest is well beneath the sea. So you got to dig down. So you want to ask that question, what is this really about? And then move from whatever it is you're working on into why. Why is this conflict here? And typically, when you do that, you're going to find out that it's either about trust. For some reason, there's a lack of trust on this team. Somebody might be threatened by losing control, or at least they're feeling they're losing control, or there might be absolute fear involved. And a lot of the major undertakings I was involved with, it usually had to do with some major change in the organization. So the first thing is there's this fear of, am I losing my position? You don't know. Or it may have been something you have done with these individuals or a particular person in the past that may have caused resentment, because if people don't feel respected, pretty much everything looks like a personal attack. So the first thing you do is you call that time out, and you start to really try to figure out what's really driving this conflict. So I'm going to come to you, Angie. Have you ever been in a situation similar to what I'm describing, where no matter what you do, you just can't get rid of the angst?
So every one of my friends and family that is listening to this is cracking up right now because yes, 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 yes. And honestly, it's still going on. So I mean, I think we've all had this professionally, personally, and sometimes to different levels. And I think this time I'm going to go more to the personal level because I know most people listening to me are like, oh my God, what is she? I can't wait to hear what she's going to say about this. But when some of this first started happening, so I'm a religious, like spiritual kind of person, bouncing around to different things. But at the time I was doing a Bible study with Pastor Richard, really interesting guy. And he randomly pulled up that passage in Matthew. Again, not that good. I'm Catholic, so I can't quote the Bible. But it was something about forgive the guy 7 times 7, da da da. And I was like, dang, got it. That's not what I want to hear right now, da da da. And he says to me, Angie, what's wrong? I was like, damn that face with subtitles, right? And so I said, well, I think, and I kind of explained it, and he goes, no, you're not listening. He said to forgive. God never says forget. And that was such a big thing for me, thinking about conflict that never gets resolved, because these are deep wounds that are happening, and they won't be resolved. We will never agree on some of the things that have happened. But for me, it changed my whole trajectory. It was like, and it's also that philosopher, I'm probably going to say it wrong, Nawtej, you fix it for people, Epictetus, that's what it was. And he says it's not about what happens to you, it's about how you react to it. And those kind of things really changed my trajectory on dealing with conflict. Was, yeah, I did forgive it. Like, I don't have any hate in my heart. I don't like any of that. But at the same time, I'm not going to let it happen to me. I'm not going to let that happen again. So, am I over it? Yes. And that was the first step to me of being able to rebuild a relationship. Now, somebody else has to get on that page, and that'll be my question to you guys. What do you do when other people are still angry and hold that emotion? But I think when you're in that place of, you can't seem to get along, you're stuck, you can't go forward. It's like Bruce said, first thing, why are we here? Right? Look at the root causes. And then if you look at those root causes and you're like, okay, these things are not going to change. These values are not going to change. The way people look at this is not going to change. So what can I do next? And that's where I think you really get into taking that emotion out and just saying, okay, forgive it. You got to let that go. Otherwise, you're carrying it, and it's not your burden to carry, right? But that doesn't mean you can't protect yourself and change the way you do things the next time going forward in order to start rebuilding that relationship. So that's how I feel about that type of thing. And Nawtej, I'm sure you've been in one of these situations too. So my question to you is, what was the situation for you? And what did you do when you hit that wall? Did you let the relationship go? Because there's also different answers to this question for me. There's times I just said, hey, this is not a good situation for me. I'm out. There are other times like, we're going to agree to disagree and we're going to go forward. So for you, like, how do you handle that?
Great question, Angie. Angie, and thank you for sharing what you just shared. I thought that was brilliant. Really got a lot out of it. So I'm just going to throw a word out there to begin with in answer to your question, and the word is grievance. And a lot of these long-running, and I'm going to throw another word out there, a feud. there's an underlying Cold War feud that may be going on, and it's built on a grievance. So the first thing for me is, and it's a great friend of mine who said this. He's a professor. He's in Boston. And he said this: don't drink poison and hope the other guy dies.
Oh, I heard that. Yeah.
So from forever, I've just made sure that I don't allow it to affect my inside. That I'm essentially I don't allow myself to think negative thoughts, because that is like drinking poison and hoping the other person something happens to the other person. So, and I don't even want anything to happen to the other person. So
Right.
I don't hold that grievance and I don't drink poison. Um, and then I think the big thing for me is I'm just going to stay on the theme of, well, the conflict, it doesn't matter what I do, the conflict is intractable. It's going to it's going to continue, because I think if you've had a busy career, that's going to be the case from time to time, where there's the conflict is in, it's long running. And I just decide I'm not going to be part of the problem. If it doesn't get solved, it doesn't get solved. But I am not going to be part of the problem. So
Man,
if
I think
I'm
that's
misunderstood,
awesome
yeah, so I'm just not going to.
because
That's my thing. Don't continue to be part of the problem. Stop.
they always say like time heals all wounds. I call bullshit on that, because if you continue to be part of the problem, you continue to go forward with these things, time's not going to heal anything. So I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, if you stayed 20 years in the same mindset and the other person stays 20 years in the same mindset, nothing's going to change. You're just going to be 20 years older and still. Actually, what's going to change is you're going to hate each other more. The resentment's going to build and the situation won't change. So you have to change something. And I like how you said it's how you're not going to be part of it anymore.
I bet, and I'm gonna test this with Bruce, but I bet that um, in both of you, but I'm going to put it to Bruce. I bet that actually, Bruce, um, in your conflicts have not lasted for years. I bet that's true for both of you, because I think you go on a positive path. That's certainly what I do, but I bet that's the case for you, Bruce. I bet this is a difficult topic for you to get your head around, really, because your conflicts haven't lasted for 20 years. But I just think it's worthwhile us discussing this, because our viewers have the some of these problems.
Yeah, one of the things I would add is, so first of all, Dr. D, as always, the astute observer, you're right. Bottom line is, if a conflict can't be resolved, it's okay to walk away. You got to be prepared to end it. But now, having said that, having spent a lot of time in corporate America, a lot of times the conflict is never addressed. We avoid it. And that suboptimizes individuals
Yeah.
as well as entire teams. So if there's a beef I have to, to really pick on, it's the fact that a lot of times a lot of things are sub-optimized because people won't deal with the conflict. They avoid it. They just kind of skate around it, and everything suffers. The outcomes that you are trying to achieve will not be reached to their fullest potential. And so I hate that. Because I really feel a
Mm.
lot is left on the table under the guise of bureaucracy. And what really is at play is we've sub-optimized because we won't lean into the discomfort that we have a conflict. So there's a difference. I would much rather acknowledge the conflict and walk away versus live with the conflict in a suboptimal way forever. Now,
Yeah.
having said that, walking away for me in the past has meant somebody was let go.
Mm.
Sorry,
Um,
Ozzy's having a conflict with a squirrel. I hope that it's unresolved. I hope we can.
That's not
but
going to resolve happily.
but I want your
Somebody's
reaction.
somebody's going to be it's going to be negatively impacted on one of them.
Negatively.
I wanted that reaction to the fact that, a lot of times conflict is avoided. That is not healthy. That is not the right thing to do, is avoid it. You hit it head on, and if it can't be resolved, it usually someone is let go. That's
Right.
been my past, because I refuse to let conflict just kind of live on for weeks, months, or certainly not years. I always force the conflict into the open, and to the point that if it's not resolved, um, then it needed to be escalated to the point that this just isn't working. Choose something else.
But
Well,
Bruce,
what do
did
you
you try?
do?
Sorry, Angie. I just wanted to chime in there quickly to
Yeah.
Bruce about, or quickly. Do you mind?
No, of course
So,
not.
um, Bruce, but did you? I mean, you used the word resolution there. But did you ever think about um, reconciliation rather than resolution, which takes a lot longer? I stole your thunder, Angie. I'm so
No,
sorry.
it's okay. It
Um,
was the same question I had. I mean,
okay, okay.
sometimes you can't resolve it,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, there's two options when you can't resolve it, right? You walk away or somebody gets fired, something like that. But sometimes you're in a situation where that person nobody's getting fired. So you have to be in a reconciliation. Or hell, if it's your family, you're definitely not getting fired. You're stuck with those people. You just can't fire people no matter how much you want to. It's not an option. So what do you do when you're in situations where I can't remove myself? How do you start that reconciliation process? Or
So,
the
so I'm
ability
gonna
to get
I'm gonna
along. Either
jump
one of
in.
you. Bruce looks
I'm going to
dumbfounded, so
jump
let's
in.
give him a
I'm going to
minute.
jump in because I'm just thinking. I'm just thinking. Bruce is going to be
Well,
thinking,
I
"Oh,
have a
you're ganging up on
response,
me."
but you go first, Dr. D.
No. So I think I have the mindset that I'm always open. There isn't anybody on the planet where I'm not open to a future reconciliation. And in the meantime, if there's a conflict and there's for one reason or another, I'm not going to be part of the problem. And I'm open to future reconciliation. So I think that's where I am. Where um, I don't think in terms of there needs to be a quick or immediate resolution anymore. Yeah.
I think that openness is a big part too, because there's so many people that maybe if they get to this level, well, they'll say, "Well, I'm right and they're wrong," but I'll accept that. We'll agree to disagree. But I think the key is the real, true openness. Like, I think I'm right. This is what I believe, and this is what I
Mm.
hear. I think you're wrong, but I will always be open to the fact that I might be wrong. I'm always open to hearing and knowing what that might be. What you have currently is not persuading me, but I'm open to something changing in the future. I think that is a really, really good point to be made if you're going for reconciliation. Okay, Bruce, now your turn.
Well, and ditto on everything everybody said, because when I said resolve, the first thing I do too is very similar to you, Angie, because I'll be honest, in many cases, I was at fault. So the first thing I do, especially if it's at the team level and it breaks down to one or two individuals, is I do try to connect them with them on a very deep level. And basically, I just took the position of listening, and then also acknowledged the emotion that had taken place. And I'm doing that mainly to learn, what did I do wrong, or what's really at play here. And so when I talked about that, it ends with somebody leaving. That was actually very rare. What I've been very fortunate, and it's interesting, Dr. D, you kind of pushed on this, is I've never allowed conflict to go unresolved. Now let me, unresolved didn't mean we had a kumbaya moment, we all came back together. Unresolved left unresolved was we agreed that we're just in a disagreement, but it's no longer personal. We've listened to one another without judgment. We listened to one another going, well, I still think you're wrong. Well, no, we moved beyond that, saying, for whatever reasons, we're not going to agree on this, but does it prohibit us moving forward and working together? And I would say 9 out of 10 times you could still coexist for the good of the overall team. That 1 out of 10 times is when somebody then would be asked to leave. But I am dead serious. I never avoided conflict to the
No, I
point that
see
I
that,
was
Bruce.
taken out. I was taken out in some cases, but I could live with myself
Yeah.
in the fact that I stood my ground not to be right, but to have the right conversation that we can't just piss over one another. We have to
So
move
Bruce,
beyond that.
I need to
Yeah.
ask you the question in a slightly different way. Okay, so I think I see that in you. I don't think you live in a world where, and I don't think you do, Angie, where the conflict is allowed to continue for years and even decades. But let's think about it this way, because we're three people. We have a lot of people who listen into the show, and many of them are not in the same situation as us. They do have conflicts that go on for years and decades, and it's an underlying misunderstanding, there's an underlying grievance, whatever it is. So let's not let's maybe let me ask the question in this way. What would be your advice to them, where we both of you, we've got to take ourselves out of our own way of being? What's our advice to them when they've got a long running battle, brother, sister, somebody in the career, somebody they fought with at work, somebody and it's still going on, they live 2 streets apart. Th- these are real issues for a lot of people. What can we say to them which is useful, because this is a conflict which is 20 years old. We can't say the obvious things. What's the issue? Angie or Bruce, whoever, because I don't have
I
the
think
answer.
I think a tangible thing, and I do need this advice as well, so I'm interested, but something tangible is when these things happen, we already said, remove yourself from the situation as much as possible, because the first person to protect is yourself and your own mental health. Otherwise, you'll never be in a place that you can begin in reconciliation and resolution. So that's the first thing we have to do. Also, if your emotions are too high, because Bruce probably said the most important thing today, people want to be seen and heard. If they're not seen and heard, reconciliation, resolution are not even on the table. So, and we can't do that if we're not taking care of ourselves and making sure we're in control of our own emotions. So I think those are the first two things. And once that happens and you're still stuck, the only thing that I see you can do is to focus on going forward. So you can focus on inviting someone to coffee and avoiding that hot topic that you agree to disagree on. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the Bengals. Let's talk about how the Bengals are so bad the Packers beat them this weekend, huh, Bruce? But let's talk about
No,
something,
no.
I know we deserve it. We're awful. But talk about something that doesn't have emotion. Talk about something fun. Bring up past things that were fun. Social media can be a devil. It can also be a tool. What about those memories that pops up of something good that you did, someplace where you had a good time, a little happy birthday card, nothing else, just happy birthday, a Merry Christmas card, small things to let people know I'm still thinking of you, especially if they're going through something. If you find out like somebody is sick or something happened, to send a get well, says, look, I'm not just here for the happy times. I'm still here and I still want to do this, but I'm not going to push you into it. And I'm not going to jump back into something that's unhealthy for me, but just those reminders of I'm here. I mean, that would be personal. At work, I think it would be going into, maybe the same things, asking somebody for coffee. talking about something different. At work, it could also be reminding them of something good they did. Like, when we did this project, you had a great idea. And I would like to have your thoughts about this. A different topic, leave the hot topic where it was, and take the small things and try to rebuild those bridges. All in honesty, though. I think
Yeah.
anything that comes out without authenticity, you're just further breaking the bridge. You have to only say things that you mean. And those are my thoughts. Bruce, what do you got?
I just love that answer, by the way. Love it.
Oh,
I
thanks.
I do too. I mean, I there's not a lot to add to that, Angie.
Oh, I love it when that happens.
Consistency, I would be maybe another term I'd throw in your mix, is
Good.
consistency because over time, I to your point, Dr. D, I really did struggle with this topic because
Yeah.
I'm not being flippant.
It hasn't
I'm
impacted
not
us, the
being
three of us.
insincere.
Yeah.
It's very rare that if you do the things that we have talked about, not only in this episode, but you listen without judgment, don't make assumptions, accept the fact and acknowledge the emotions, and really listen to what that other person has to say. It's very rare that you can't agree to disagree. If you do all of those things and put your emotions aside and genuinely show respect for the opposing view, very rare. But then I have to agree with, and both of you have said this, if all of that's been done, and this is really true, especially with family members, you just have to walk away. And then you do hope over time, as long as you remain consistent in your behavior when there is moments where you have to interact, especially in family gatherings or even as team members potentially, they will see the consistency, the authenticity, and in you, and the honesty in you, that maybe time can heal. But if not, walk away. Nothing is worth your personal health, physically or mentally, to be in play. You just need to walk away.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just say something slightly different, and that is
He
that
always
because
does.
that yeah. So well, I think as I said earlier, and I think Bruce, you've acknowledged this topic is difficult for all of us because I don't think we have ever been in situations where we've been in conflict situations, all of us, right? But we've never been in these intractable, decades long, conflicts. And I'm going to just focus on what Andy said, but I'm going to just say something slightly different. That that and this is for everybody who's listening and will listen to this podcast. If you are finding yourself in this situation, you're already there. There's no point trying, you know, this after 10, 15 years of um,
Yeah,
conflict.
that would be weird. Happy
Because that
birthday.
will be
Haven't talked
weird.
to you in
Yeah.
25
Yeah.
years.
Don't pick up the phone and say, haven't talked to you in 20 years, but listen, I'd love to hear your point of view and I'd like to respectfully
For
disagree.
this
Yeah,
great
don't do that,
podcast,
guys.
I need your point of view.
but I think to sum up what Angie said, I want to just say, if you find yourself in this situation, don't forget to continue to be kind. Even doesn't matter how you're feeling, be kind to the other person in your thoughts, and don't bitch about them if you can help it to other people. If you can help it, be kind because you'll live a lot longer if you fill your internal organs with kindness rather
Yeah.
than bitterness. Um, and the conflict is still going to be there because it's not going to disappear after 20 years. But you can be kind. The other person is a daughter or a son of somebody, and they've got uncles and aunts, and they've probably got daughters and sons. Be kind to them. They're just trying to make their own way, and that's all I can
And if
say.
you
It's
can't be
basically what
kind to
Angie said.
them, yeah, and if
Sorry.
you can't be kind to them, then I think we need to relook at ourselves because then
Right.
you haven't forgiven. And maybe that conflict does lie within you because in my experience, I've found that like I maybe I don't want to talk to you or be around you as much because you're still that person that thinks this way or does that thing. But if I'm talking to someone else about you, I don't get inflamed, enraged. I don't want to say anything bad about you. I don't have
Yeah.
any hatred in my heart or anger.
Mm.
Like you said, Nawtej, I can be kind to you and treat you nicely. Those are
Yeah.
different things. Doesn't mean I have to go watch every football game with you anymore or
Mm.
go shopping every weekend or whatever it is. But if you're talking about that person and you're still saying, well, that witch, da
Yeah.
da da
Yeah.
da,
Yeah.
da, da, then you might need to look at yourself and make sure that you have forgiven that person. Because there's times, I mean, I can tell you, there are times I'm like, okay, I know I've not forgiven you. I need more time to do whatever it's going to be. But at least you're aware of that's what's going to happen. Because if you're not aware, it's never going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, I
This
love
has
that.
been. This is. I do too. Look, this is, as I said,
I
and
gotta
also,
just I gotta add
go ahead.
one real life thing at one of my daughter's graduation. Um, the speech that's given at those graduations, there was a billionaire business person that walked up onto the stage to give, what is it, the commencements or whatever?
Yeah,
Yeah.
commencement speech. Yeah.
And he said, "Man, as I prepared for this, I started with a list of 20 key attributes of success that'll get you in and out of any situation in life." And I'm thinking, "Oh God, here we go, 20, 30
Here
minutes."
all day.
And then he said, "Finally, I just realized it's one." And you could have heard the pin drop because it's like this guy's only been on the stage now for 5 minutes. Be kind. Be kind in all situations. And he put the mic down and walked off the stage.
Oh, wow.
Wasn't that powerful?
Yeah.
Because to your point, Angie and Dr. D, thank you so much as always. It is about kindness. And even when that's why don't react. Step back and think there's a reason this other person is ready to kill me. Right, wrong, or indifferent that person may be, there's a reason for it. The best I can do in that situation is share my feelings, my thoughts, listen to their feelings and their thoughts with kindness,
Hmm.
and then walk away.
Yeah, because then that anger usually turns into sympathy or even empathy. Because
Yeah.
when you're kind, you can
Mm.
say, like,
Yeah.
I'm still mad at you, but I see why you think that way, and I'm sorry that other things have happened to you, or you're in this spot, or
Yeah.
whatever. And that all starts with being kind.
And wow, that to me is no matter what the circumstance, get
Mhm.
yourself under control, address the issues head on, but be kind. God, I love
And
that. Dr.
particularly
D,
if
Dr.
you're
D.
not in that situation where those issues have been addressed. I'm not speaking to the three of us now. I'm just speaking to people who are listening. Lots of people have situations which haven't been addressed literally for decades, whether it's family or career. There's a grievance, and you can help yourself by, you can't revisit it now, as you know, you can't, as Angie said, you can't pick up the phone. Do not pick up the phone and try and revisit it. But you can help yourself just by being kind. You can't revisit what happened 20 years ago, but you can be, in self-interested terms, you can be kind because you're going to live a lot longer if you fill your soul with kindness. So look, we're coming to the end of our show, which is quite disappointing because I'm really enjoying this. But what are our key takeaways, Angie? What's your key takeaway? And only one of you can choose kindness. I'm saying it
Okay.
up front now.
Well, before I do that, I'm gonna see.
Yeah,
I just was sitting here looking at our screens, and I was thinking how how clear the UK and US culture is today. Bruce and I are sporting all of our serving up success. We're
yeah,
like swagged out, and
yeah,
Dr. Nawtej is still very academic and normal because he's British.
yeah. I
That's
didn't want to
so
say. I didn't want to point. I didn't want to point to your. I didn't want to point to your abnormality because I just thought that would be unkind.
funny.
But thanks for pointing out my abnormality.
Oh, no, I think it's lovely. So we know that there will be no merch sold in the UK. However, if you're in the United States and you're interested, we now have a merch store with cups and t-shirts and blankets and pretty much anything you want. So anyway, I just thought that throw that in there. But my takeaway from today, I think, is that I like that Epictetus thing. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you react to it. And so when it comes down to conflict, take everything these brilliant guys said into consideration when you choose how you react to what happens to you. So that if you can't resolve a conflict, you're at least in a healthy place yourself so that you can go forward and maybe resolve it someday or build a new relationship.
Brilliant. Thank you, Angie. You
Mhm.
said the word kindness without using the word kindness. Love it.
I
Love
know.
it. Which opens up the door to Bruce to use the word if he would like to. Bruce, over
Well,
to you.
first of all, don't forget to hit the subscribe and the
Oh,
like
yeah.
button, please. And thank you so much for watching. Oh, all right. So here's my takeaway: do not avoid conflict. Allowing something to fester for weeks, months, years, decades, not a healthy thing. Go head first into conflict, but go with kindness and be prepared to walk away, but with kindness.
Bruce is your. I'm going to stick with you now because what's your advice for somebody who's they they don't have a time machine, they can't go back in time. What's your advice for somebody who's been in this conflict for 15, 20 years? They can't go back in time, they can't unravel it. What's any advice on that front?
Um, if you have to be with this person or situation, set boundaries. But once you set those boundaries, let it go. Let it go. Do not, to your point, Natesh, you said this multiple times, don't participate. Set the boundaries that I'm not going to carry on like this. I love you, man, but I, I'm okay. I hope you're okay.
Mm, I like that.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice,
But
Bruce.
don't carry it. Let it go.
Yeah,
It's not
that's
worth
very
it.
healthy. That's very healthy, Bruce. Very healthy growth mindset. I don't have. I'm scrabbling around. I'm rambling now to think of a takeaway which you two haven't mentioned. But I think
That's
but I
very
think
rare, but boy, we're enjoying it.
but I, um, but but I think my key takeaway from this conversation is that my two co-hosts are very healthy people who know how to respectfully deal with other people, who know how to move things forward in a really diligent, respectful way. And if anybody out there needs any advice about conflict, reach out to these two guys. They are so open, they're so healthy, they're brilliant people, and they will really genuinely, I say this, they will really help. They are great mentors and coaches. And that's my key takeaway for this week.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Cheers!
Cheers. And what is do we have a title for next week's show, and who's on next week? Who's on point next
Angie's
week?
on the hot seat.
Okay, I am. And that is too far. I have it in front of me and it's too far away for me to see. So surprise, you'll find out next
Oh,
week. All
Hit
right, thank you
subscribe, hit our
everyone.
page.
Yes, like and subscribe please and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
thanks guys.
Bye.